broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Pretty chill.
It is chill. Every week, I always feel like I'm ready to ride the top of that roller coaster, that arch, and then I'm like,
You can't. It's broken.
Oh, the arch is broken still.
Yeah.
But we're not.
No,
maybe
not.
A little bit in the head, but
yeah, sure.
We are not, and we are here for Defiance episode 9. We're getting closer and closer and closer to the finale.
Yeah.
Am I saying this right? Is it Ostinato?
That's
Ostinato.
Yeah, that's what I think it would say. Yeah.
All right, episode 9, Ostinato in white. But before we get started, who are you?
Hi, I'm Jesse Klein. You can find me on Twitter at JessKlein1. That's JessKlein, the number 1.
That's right, because you're always number 1 to me.
I am number 1.
And I am Scott Moore. You can find me on Twitter at SMan80. That's SMAN80. And another really good episode with another good season.
This season is so far my favorite of the series.
Absolutely, without a doubt. The action, the storylines, the plot.
Yeah.
So on point this season.
Which is with what they've done with like the killing of main characters who handled a lot of the dialogue, and adding at least 2 new characters. That's kind of like a dangerous thing for a TV show. Like, you don't know how that's going to shift, but
exactly,
they did a really good job.
Yeah, and not to mention even too, just learning more about the characters. You know, we've talked about those in previous episodes with the use of the backstory.
Yeah,
and which has been really great. So we've been able to learn about some of our leads in a way we did not know, to kind of realize why they behave in the way that they behave.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. But I guess we might as well jump right into it. We do have a special guest caller who will be calling in shortly.
Yeah, we do.
But until then, we might as well get rocking and rolling here.
Are we going to tease our special caller?
Should we tease him?
Yeah.
Let's tease him.
Yeah.
Right. Tease him.
It's BB. It's Billy MacLellan's going to call in. We've got a traitor in our midst.
That's right.
And we're going to talk to him on the phone.
Yes, I'm excited for him to call in momentarily.
Yeah.
But as we jump in, though, we jump in with the opening sequence there of them at the memoriam, I guess, the memorial.
Well, the opening sequence was Doc running.
Well, yes. Well, Doc, as we find out, Doc's clone.
I know. I was watching it. I was like, that's Doc.
That's exactly what I did, too. I'm like, wait a minute.
Did they just kill Doc in the opening sequence? I was like, or am I, like, indigene racist and I think all of them look the same? Like, I was like, that was definitely Doc.
And it was funny you said I did the same exact thing. I'm like, I'm indigene racist because that was clearly Doc. But I'm like, but it couldn't have been Doc because it was sort of like, it was too crazy. It happened too fast, and they're not going to do anything to Matrona Keating because I love her so much.
Yeah.
They cannot. They will not.
A brutal killing of Doc.
Yeah.
From a mysterious beast.
From a beast.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that sequence, but yes, I had to actually go back and watch it again. I'm like, wait a minute, was it just me thinking it was her?
No, it was Doc.
And we find out. Yeah, we find out what happened there. Which I was saying off camera, I need a clone, so I'm a little disappointed that I don't have a clone.
Yeah.
Actually, I could use 2, really.
I think having a clone around might be nice.
Yeah.
Get some stuff done.
Get a lot of stuff done.
Yeah.
Send out that clone on things you don't want to go to and deal with. And
oh man, that'd be easy. That'd be great. Yeah, send that clone to work.
Pesky things like that.
Yeah.
And then you get to have fun all the time.
Yeah.
So Doc you had it made, but she didn't realize that she had this clone.
No, she did not.
So that was a fun realization there.
That entire storyline was insane.
Yeah. And again, just like this season, I thought it was done really well.
I think clones, like as far as like sci-fi go, it's a staple. And as we know, all the indigene are clones. They are created in labs, that kind of stuff. There could be multiples of one type. But Doc did not know that there were any of hers running around. I thought they really handled kind of the body horror of like what having like multiple clones of yourself. Like Doc is there, you know, talking about like, get your hands off my body, is what she says.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, you're like, it was her body.
Yeah.
And like the idea of like this body that you've been examining is your own.
Right.
And like the whole, like when she goes through the entire clone laboratory and like just like the shreds of her like hanging from the ceiling, and like that one version of her like under the water kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was all real gross and scary.
Yeah, it was definitely it was a fun scene, but definitely like mind trippy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we have Billy here with us on the phone.
Oh, awesome.
He's joining in now. Hey, Billy, are you there? Oh, maybe.
Oh,
hi.
hey, how's it going?
Good. It's Scott, and we've got Jesse here.
Hi, Billy. How's it going?
Brother Jesse, how are you, man?
Doing good.
Hey, thanks for joining in with us tonight. I don't know where you're calling from, but we really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm calling from Toronto.
Oh, so it's late there.
Beautiful city.
Yeah, I love me some Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about how much we really, really loved this season of Defiance, and your character has played up to this point a very integral role in this season.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah. Here's a little secret that I didn't let you know over Twitter, but before I got the job, when I found out I got the job, I watched the first 2 seasons in 5 days.
Oh my God.
And I supplemented as I went through each episode by listening to your podcast.
Oh.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's.
I'm sorry.
No. You guys are doing such a great job, and you're so. It's just so cool to hear like the fans of the show be so articulate and intelligent about it. And but in all honesty, whenever I got to the predictions, then I just stopped listening to that individual episode because I needed to gear up on the canon of the show so quickly that the predictions at that point weren't of any use to me other than it just being a fan of the show. So I didn't listen to a prediction until the final episode of season 2.
Oh wow, that's fantastic, and actually very smart to do that because it'd be easy just to go listen all the way through and hear all those. And it is there's a huge mythology to the show, and there is a learning curve for sure. When we started with episode 1, I was like, oh my gosh, it was overwhelming.
When I found out that when I was coming in season 2, I had to do so much research. I was like, okay, but what's west of Defiance, and like what's going on there, and is there a central government? I don't understand like all of that kind of stuff.
It is incredible, like just getting the words down and the different races of the aliens and the history behind it all. I mean, it really does. It feels like something you have to learn in school to really get all that down. So that's definitely a crash course you have to go through to be ready for the season 3.
Yeah, well, I watched the shows, I listened to your podcast, and then when I felt so. I felt as prepared as I could be, and when I went into my costume fitting, and then the Simonetta, the costume designer, quickly talked me through all of the different races, and I was like, yeah, but then she was, of course, talking about the Olmecs and such, and I was like, okay, hold on, I don't really recall, and then I thought I was missing stuff, but it's so big and it's ever evolving. It's it's a task to keep up.
As an actor, how does that feel to kind of enter in the 3rd season of a world that's been completely created? Like it's in the future, it's all of these new rules and that kind of stuff. How does it feel to kind of enter and become a part of that world?
Well, in a way, it's a little bit daunting, but you have to remember when you show up, as long as you're willing to ask for help, there's 40 people at hand that are willing to help you figure out whatever you need to figure out. And, in a way, it was a little bit of a gift that BB was a slow burn in that I got to sit back and observe and really just fan out for the first 3 or 4 episodes. I got to hang out. Like, I started watching the show because it was a job, and it didn't take too many episodes for me to realize that I was just really stoked after each episode cliffhanger to just start the next one, you know, and what a gift that is.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Now, for your first few episodes, you had a lot of makeup on. How long did that take? Everyone likes to hear.
Exactly. That's exactly what was going to be my question too, Jesse.
Everyone likes to hear the makeup chair stories.
Well, you know, it's funny. I was talking to a few actors recently, and they were talking about having to get the cast done, where they cast your whole head or a part of your head, and they were both talking about how much the process freaked them out. And this was my third casting, and wow. I did a half a cast for a show called Saving Hope, where I played a guy that did his own facial tattoos and piercings, and he implanted his own horns. So I had some prosthetics for that, and then I did another show called Remedy, where I played a burn victim.
Oh wow!
So I've realized that, you know, it's sort of that adage, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So when I went into it this time, I just tried to go to a place of relaxation and meditation, and that 40 minutes or whatever passed by in no time. The BB's makeup took about 4 hours to put on the very first day. Paul Jones designed it, and he put it on the first day. And when he put it on the first day, he put the Indigene skin on first, and then he put the torn up, replicated Billy skin on top of that. And then after a few days of doing that process, when I showed up, he had all of the pieces put together and painted, so it was just the right side and the left side. But still, it was really hard to get it done. Even like that, it was still really hard to get it done in under 3 hours.
Wow. But I can just imagine even just wearing all of that, too. You know, like, that's got to be a lot.
Well, it was a little bit, this season was a little bit different from, you know, the people that are wearing full prosthetics historically for Defiance. Like, Trina Doc-Ewell she's been wearing it, and hers wrapped around her entire head.
Yeah.
And she had her hair glued to her scalp, and then the bald cap over top of that. And she shot historically. They've been shooting historically in the summertime when it's 20 degrees here. When I shot, it was minus 30, but my prosthetic acted as a whole other layer of skin, so I didn't mind it at all. I enjoyed the process. Actually, on the last day I ran around, on my last day of work, I was running around saying goodbye to everybody. I said goodbye to everybody on set, and then everybody in the office. And then I went into the prosthetics trailer last, and I felt like crying when I was leaving. I felt like summer camp. Summer camp was over, and I had to go home.
Right, because you're like in this whole other world here and having a good time. And do you have any?
And the prosthetics guys are such fanboys of movies. If you're a fanboy of movies and you like to talk movies with guys while you're sitting there for 3 hours, they're the guys, because they can out movie trivia anybody.
I'm sure.
Did that process help you find your character the first time you saw yourself as like this half Indigene, half human kind of looking thing? Did that help you with the discovery of who BB is?
Well, you know, when I was trying to send BB from a place of like the 1980s horror supervillain, like not too much to say and very focused on whatever the target is. And then, you know, in subtle ways, when BB became Beckman, I tried to breathe a little bit more life into him. And, you know, one of my favorite scenes is the scene that I got to do with Jesse, who played Alak, and he was there's a little beat there where Alak thinks through maybe the smell or through the visual. Have I seen this guy before? And I kind of dig that scene, and just looking at those two characters gauge, hey, how much does that guy know, and how much does that guy know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was really cool seeing you transform from BB to Beckman.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of a sudden you became extremely charismatic, which before you were kind of stoic. And it was kind of cool to see that kind of transformation happen.
Well, there was a lot being asked, I thought, of the character in a really short period of time. Like, you have to believe that this guy is likable enough for Nolan to say, you know, not only, you know, hey, he's good in a fight, let him join our team, but you know, if you exude crazy at that moment, you don't get to be a part of the gang, and that's his primary purpose. So that's how he infiltrates his way in.
Right. I mean, that's what we were saying in the last episode. It was pretty incredible the way he was able to infiltrate right into, you know, Nolan's core group there. And that's what we're saying. It's such an integral role that your character had to be able to do that in the show, and that quickly for the character to be able to have the trust. So it says a lot for sure. Yeah.
You know, it's such a brilliant plan to send in your buddies to shoot up the place and then take them out in the process. And because he saved Nolan shooting his own colleagues, I mean, it's sort of hard to make an argument that, I could see how Beckman could be the bad guy here. You know, of course Nolan is going to trust him. He just saved his life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Those action scenes are pretty cool. Where did you have to have any sort of like? I know you did a couple fist fights in there. Were there any kind of stunt training or anything like that?
Well, the day before we shot that scene, we had a stunt rehearsal at that very location. So we went out, and my stunt double, Alex Armbruster, and Grant's stunt double, and Arissa's stunt double, and Jesse's stunt double were all out there. And then we had a stunt coordinator, and we had a fight coordinator. So they walked us through it. They had it all choreographed when we showed up. And so then they walked us through it, and then they filmed it for us to take home.
Oh, wow.
That type of thing is, I always find it easy. I pick up the choreography quickly. It fits in my body easy, and Grant is just such a pro at it. He picked it up really quickly, and so, you know, that part, once you're working with someone that picks it up so easy, then you can focus on other things, because it's pretty easy to forget the choreography, you know, the next day when there's 60 crew members standing on the other side of the camera and the pressure's on and you're under the time restraints. So working with Grant on that day, you know, it might have been my favorite day, because he's such a pro and he's such a good partner, and he really gives 100% every time. Like, he's so dedicated to the product that his process is really something to enjoy watching.
Yeah, well, it was an incredible scene. I mean, that's what we were talking about, just overall with this season in general. But, you know, that particular that fight scene was amazing, and it had to have been a lot to have to put together and do the choreography and everything else to make it come out that way.
Yeah, it felt really dangerous. Like, while watching it, it felt like, oh, he might have just killed Arissa.
Yeah, it was very intense.
Yeah, so the choreography was amazing.
I sat down and watched that scene with my agent after my first viewing of it, and if you rewind, if you want to see someone take a killer hit, rewind and watch a lax stunt double take that rifle shot.
Oh, really?
It's really quite I didn't notice it in the first viewing, but go back and watch it, because when he gets air, he gets about 3 feet in the air, and there was no mat or anything behind him. It looks like he went off of a springboard, but that's just him doing his own jump.
Wow, that's insane. Yeah, I'll definitely have to watch that again.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So we now know you're a big fan of the show. Do you have a favorite character in Defiance?
Besides your own, of course.
Besides Phoebe.
Well, everyone has such... I wouldn't be able to narrow it down. Like, even in just episode 308, Nolan does such cool stuff. Like, he sort of, I've heard you guys say the comparison to Han Solo of Nolan, and that's so very true. Like, you just want to be around that guy. Like, you're so, and Grant is as charismatic as Nolan, so he's just so much fun to be around. But then, like, Doc Ewell has such great moments in the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then if you even just take that one scene where Daytok cuts his arm off, Tony was so... I was going to say funny, but it goes from gross to like terrifying. Like, what is going on? Is he cutting off this? And then it becomes funny, and then you don't know what to feel. And then when you watch Rom talk, watching Tony, when you watch Lee's performance, and he's freaking out in the gangster line, and he high fives with the it's like trying to pick a favorite kid. Everyone has such great moments. You can't narrow it down.
Yeah, that's and it's true. And I've always loved Doc Ewell for her comedic relief. Like, she just has those lines, and she delivers those lines, and they're just I love it every single time.
Yeah, that's the thing we talk about a lot on the show, is how giving the showrunners and the writers are to everyone has their moments in the show, and no one really feels like they're lacking anything.
No, and it just sort of speaks to everyone involved loving the characters. You know, somebody asked me on Twitter, do you like playing a bad guy? Do you like playing a villain? I never, like, I don't think of, like, if you think of your character as a villain, you end up twirling your mustache, and it's, you know, it's not believable. You have to believe, even as a villain, that you are doing the best possible thing. You're doing the best possible thing for your cause. Right. And when the showrunners and the producers and the directors love their character that much, then of course everyone gets to shine in their moment. There are even some characters that just come in for one episode that they really get a great piece, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're more gray, the characters, you know. They're not all just purely evil or purely good. They have their motivations on what they're doing. And what you're saying is your character was motivated for certain reasons. Well, and just like the Tars are motivated for certain reasons, you could see they have their good and bad side. And that's what's great about the way these characters are fleshed out.
Yeah, well, you see it during the live tweets on Twitter. You see people... you see people that are so in love with some of the characters, and then if the character does something where there's a gray area, Twitter starts to blow up. People are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe what's Berlin doing? I can't believe why is Nolan? I can't believe Daytok is." And that's so, because no one is one thing. No one is just a good guy. No one is just a bad guy, and that's what makes the character so complex and so interesting, and makes you want to revisit them.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, and the good and bad are balanced really well, and it's not unbelievable the way they are good. It's not like someone is just evil and then all of a sudden they save a baby. Right.
There's motivation behind their actions, and it's very well fleshed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just going back to being on set and everything. Were there any? I like to ask this too. Like any cool traditions or anything anyone does there on set that is kind of fun? They have to do not really like hazing, but is there something for like the new people they have to do, or any little fun tidbits from set?
Fun tidbits from set. Okay, well, like I said, in watching the show so quickly and becoming a fan so quickly, I passed this imaginary line in my head while I was sitting on my couch watching, and where for a second I started to become starstruck in thinking I'm going to have to show up at work and work with these folks now that I'm a fan. So I was trying to show up and be Mr. Cool. Say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Billy." Shake people. And every time I shook Grant's hand, I was just so excited, And then when they called lunch on the first day, I wasn't working with, I hadn't been working with Tony and Jamie yet. Mm-hmm. And so I went in and I saw Grant sitting at the lunch table. So you guys mind if I sit down? I sat down. And so when I first met Detectar, he had just come off of set. And sometimes when Tony eats, he takes these little, what do you call them, barrettes? Mm-hmm. Barrettes, and clips them in his hair so it holds back his hair into these two little pigtails. So when I met the infamous Detectar, he had these two little girl barrettes in his hair and completely smashed the illusion instantaneously.
That's great. And it's like the first day of school, too. Like, you're at the cafeteria, you're like, who can I sit next to here? Like, who can I be friends with?
Yeah, but, they, and I guess that comes back to your question about what's it like being, coming on in season 3. Mm-hmm. They made it really easy. They were all very inclusive, and they all had such a nice balance of keeping things light with a great sense of humor, but just being really invested in the quality of the work. And when you show up on any set, you can't ask for better than that.
Yeah. Wow.
So true.
Yeah,
that's great.
And I mean that shows in the show itself. Mm-hmm. Like, you can tell that the people involved care deeply about, like, not only that the show does well, but that they care that the show acts the way it should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you just take Arissa's storyline from this season and see the quality of work that Stephanie is putting forth, there's no way that anybody could ever accuse that actor of phoning that in. I mean, every episode, I think she's just been, there's one scene in every episode where that girl just takes your heart right out of your chest. I just think she's knocking it out of the park this season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been great kind of getting to learn more about her. I mean, really her and Grant's character, Nolan, and being able to learn, like we were saying, using the backstories this season and really getting to dig deeper with a lot of these characters that we've come to know now over 3 seasons.
Yeah, those flashbacks where Nolan was watching the young Arissa almost go kill him when he was sleeping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just, as a fan, that makes me so excited.
Yeah. And what a brilliant narrative device.
Exactly. Yeah. It was genius the way the writers had set this up to make that work.
Like, let someone be in on someone else's flashback is really cool.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. And like you say, the ghost of Christmas past.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Brilliant.
Hey, Bo, I don't want to keep you too late because I know it's late there in beautiful Toronto, but do you have any predictions or anything you can share with us?
Yeah.
As a fan.
Well, I am technically right now 1 episode behind because I went to go see the episode at Doc Yule's place on Sunday.
Awesome.
And we were going to have a barbecue, and we had a really bad thunderstorm roll through.
Oh, wow.
We don't know what rain's like out here anymore.
It flew out the transformers on her block.
Whoa.
So we couldn't actually watch the episode. So I'm 1 episode behind. And someone in the cast, after I was finished shooting, said to me, "Oh, so this happens," and I didn't know that thing happened.
Uh-oh.
And I was so upset because it's a big thing, and I didn't want to know it just yet.
Oh man, that's the biggest tease of all right now. The tease of all teases.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And I probably shouldn't expound on that anymore because knowing me, way too much will get out too soon. So you have absolutely no predictions for me.
Oh man, that's the tease of all teases, the end all teases right there, I think, of all.
Well, it was nice talking to you, and thanks for reaching out on Twitter to us. That was a really nice surprise.
Well, I've really been enjoying the show, guys. You keep up the good work.
No, we really appreciate it. Where can the fans find you on Twitter?
You can find me at Billy MacLellan on Twitter, and check out Season 2 of 12 Monkeys, and also on SyFy, check out The Expanse when it starts in December, and I don't think I can really talk too much about that, but I'm going to be popping up somewhere in Season 1.
Very
fantastic.
Cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for calling in tonight, and we will talk soon, and take care.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Hey, Billy.
I just waved to him. He was on a phone.
Bye. That was great for him.
That was really cool.
And shared a lot of good stuff and just gave the biggest tease ever now.
I know, everyone's like, what is the thing?
What? This big, huge thing?
Yeah.
That he didn't want to know, that now we can't know about, and now we're going to wonder what's going to happen these next, what do we have, 4 episodes left after this? Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's so nice of him to call in, because I know we know it's late over there on the East Coast. So thank you again, Billy, for calling in.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, yeah, going back to this episode.
Back to the app.
Yeah, it was really good for sort of this transitional episode out of what we had to deal with in 8.
I think it was a really good transition. I mean, it wasn't even I think we've started on what the main story is kind of going to be for the next few episodes until the end of the season. I think it was last week I predicted that it was going to be like a filler episode, like it was going to be a one and done, kind of like there's a monster in there and they take care of it, but it was not. I think it immediately opened up a lot more plot points and interesting options to happen.
It did, because I agreed with you too. I thought it was just going to be kind of a one and done as a shift and to kind of get through from the last episodes that we were dealing with, the VC and everything. And I loved also the way they did the camera stuff with the Beast and sort of like from the Beast's perspective at a couple points there. That was great.
It was really cool.
That was a lot of fun to watch that. So again, it's like I've noticed just not only with special effects and everything this season, but they've really gone with some cool little camera angles and movements and stuff, and it's been a lot of fun to watch what they've been doing this season with even that kind of stuff.
I really enjoyed this episode. I thought at the beginning when they had that memorial, I thought it was I was like, why is Tevgen here?
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool that he was there. I think as far as like their shift with this character, we were talking that it feels like they kind of dramatically shifted this character that without an inciting incident. Like, this is where we thought the character was going to go, but we thought that there would be something like someone saves his life, someone does something so that he can see that, like, Defiance is worth protecting, that kind of thing. We didn't really see that happen. It just kind of happened off screen.
Yeah, rather quickly for him to have the attachment and the care for these individuals.
But now that he has shifted, he is being written consistently in this way now, and it was cool to see him at that memorial, see how I think he noticed how much Nolan was grieving. I think that whole thing with Ender, Zero's dad, was, I mean, heartbreaking. I think Nolan was really interesting this entire episode. This is kind of the first thing we see Nolan unhinged.
Yeah.
Like, he's usually so confident, even if he's playing it by ear, he's very confident, and this is the first time we've kind of seen him shaken.
Yeah, absolutely, and really, not sure of himself and what to do, and really taking all of that internally from what happened with the 27 townspeople that were killed during this attack. So it was it was very real again. It was very real and very, very intense. Yeah, specifically with Zero, he felt like he owed Ender some sort of explanation, and every time I thought it was great that every time Nolan tried to explain it and tried to kind of logic it out that, in war people die and he made a bad call, but that's part of being like following orders. It never hit with Ender, which I think is like such a brave and different way to kind of handle this, where usually he would give like a speech and then Ender would be like, you know what, you're right, and I'm gonna take this gun and I'm going to give it to Orisa because she is your daughter and she can live on in the memory of my son. And instead
it never landed, and it never. Sometimes people are just so sad that they can't not be sad, and I think that's what happened with Endura. And I really enjoyed that entire story. I thought it was a really different take that, you know, maybe that we in another show, maybe we would get like one scene of Nolan being sad and drunk like that, that one, and then the next time we see him, he's okay.
Right.
But he wasn't.
Yeah. And same thing with Endura too. That we'll tie that ball nice and neat at the end, and he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And he's going to feel he has the support, and he's going to be able to move on. And in this case, we did not have that happen.
Yeah.
Which it was just an emotionally intense episode to have to watch that.
Yeah.
You know, it really, really was. And I don't know if you were expecting that at the end with Endura, or...
I kind of saw... I either thought he was going to try and kill Orisa.
Yeah.
Or because he was like, you took my son, I take your daughter. Or he was going to kill himself.
See, I thought maybe he was going to try to kill himself. I thought it was going to be one of those things where he was going to tie up all neat, and somehow Nolan was going to walk in just in time and save him, or even Tevgin, or something was going to happen to where that was not going to occur, and it did, and that was like very stark. Like I do feel like this season, this no holds barred, like let's just go for it. Characters, regardless, we're gonna go there, and they have, without a doubt, and that's what's made this season in particular really intense, knowing that nobody is safe.
Should we hit Stahma really quickly?
Yes.
And then go to the main story, because of that phone interview, we don't have a lot of time.
No, we definitely don't. We're gonna be like, okay, this happened at the end.
Really quickly, like Stahma comes back. She hears that she's pardoned. She comes back, but of course, just because you're pardoned, you're a terror. Like the entire town still hates you.
Exactly.
Like she's in such an awkward position because like her husband, I think, is being treated like a hero. I think he's being lionized. I think that people really kind of respect that turn that Datak. He was memorialized with the other people who died. The people who died in the cave, and I think that Stahma maybe thought that she was coming back to a more welcoming environment. No, you blew up the arch. Like the only reason why you're pardoned is because your husband did something very brave. And Alec is like, if you come close to my son, I will kill you, because he still thinks that she killed Christy to save her own skin and not Luke's.
Yeah, she's the
little bear.
She's the Nixon of Defiance, I guess. Apparently, right now she got pardoned, but still no one likes her. But, well, the thing that was interesting to me too is I guess I didn't quite read into it the full way, you know, of Datak being gone. Yeah. Like I was like, really? Really? Like that was kind of surprising to me. I don't know what you thought of that, because I was not expecting that.
I did not think Datak would be back this episode, and I think when we get into predictions, I'm going to have some predictions. But I think I did think that like Datak would come back soon, and that he would be now greeted as like a hero,
the savior,
which I think they might still. But yeah, Stahma acted very cowardly and did the Stahma thing, and like
self-centered,
and it's going to be
Stahma.
I think it's going to be difficult for her. You know, last season she gained a lot of goodwill in the city with taking over the gang and kind of being a foil for Datak for a lot of the season. And this season, she feels like she's been a victim quite a bit and is going to continue living that victim-y lifestyle, which is very unlike Stahma.
Yeah, although, you know, I feel like in especially these past couple episodes, she's gotten to that point a lot because of what she's been going through with Kinsey and all that kind of craziness the last previous episodes, that I feel it's kind of has affected her her self-esteem in a way. Yeah, for sure. Where she feels she stands. And knowing that Tevgin is not like a Datak, like, you know, a whole different level of power. Yeah. And not the way that she can manipulate and control like she was able to do with him. Yeah. So it's been definitely a wake-up call for her.
You mentioned Kinsey, so let's get to it. Doc finds the clone is a clone of herself, and decides, and God, what's the dude's name?
Samir is back.
Samir comes out of nowhere. He's her apprentice. Yeah. And he's like, shouldn't you tell the lawkeeper? And she's like, last time he didn't stand up for me when it came to them, so I'm going to do it on my own. and she goes to investigate, and she finds a horror show of her dead body hanging from the ceiling. And Kenzie is there, and it turns out that Kenzie has been cloning Docule and hunting her down and eating her. And has now moved on to bigger. She killed those homeless people. And is kind of like this, for real, a monster. And Doc is having to deal with all of these like dead bodies. Like Doc's like, I'm going to destroy this, and she's like, no, you're not, because if you do, I'll break your neck. Put in this control stick, and she like puts this control stick in her neck, and now all of a sudden Docule is doing whatever Kenzie tells her to do, which leads to Doc killing or maybe just knocking out Samir.
Yeah, see, that was my thing too. I had written down, I'm like, well, so what did she actually do to Samir? It was the same kind of thing. I was like, this is the needle went in. I was like, well, what is it exactly, and what happened to him? Yeah. Because we were talking about him before too, because he disappeared for quite a few episodes, and then he's back again. Yeah. And helping her out, and they're doing sort of the autopsy and find out that they have the Bagra spores that are only found in Old St. Louis. So that's like, oh, she knows it's on now. Yeah, and that sort of led her to believe that was Kinsey and the OMAC were behind it.
I mean, Indigene have such an interesting life because she handled seeing clones of herself brutally mutilated, very like a champ. Right?
Yeah, it's the thing that's interesting about Indigenes is that they sort of have emotion but not like they in some cases, but in a lot of ways they're standoff. It's fascinating to me, especially with her.
They were grown for parts, right? So like dying is like one of the most important things that Indigenes do, and so like to have someone like Doc who is like so obstinate and like does not want to die, right? Like a regular person, it's very cool to kind of see her kind of live in the human world, but also in the Indigene world as well.
Absolutely, yeah. She sort of evolved in from what Indigenes had started out being. Yeah. But obviously, Kinsey's out there for the hunt, and this is part of her thing right now.
And she's uncontrollable.
Yes, is this hunt. And of course, Tevin comes and saves the day just in the nick of time again.
And Daddy is angry.
Oh, Daddy is very, very angry.
Yeah. Ooh. He sends her into a stasis pod. I thought maybe he straight up killed her.
I did too. I have to say, and again, that was going to be shocking to me, and it was still surprising to me again that he put her back in the pod because it's his daughter, as far as we know. I put it in quotes because they have this weird relationship, but still, again, considering the people that he's with in Defiance or aliens or whatever, the relationships he's built with them, and to actually go above and enough to where he was going to put his daughter in a pod was fascinating to me too.
Yeah, and I have to give you credit for calling the prediction. Kenzie definitely and Nolan definitely tried to have a moment. Drunk Nolan, stricken with grief.
But I saw it from episode 1 because they had that little flirty thing there, and I really wanted to see them consummate it, but not yet.
No.
There's still hope, though. There's still hope.
It could still happen.
It could still happen, and I'm still holding out hope for that.
Last season ended with Nolan in a pod with a woman. It might end this season with Nolan in a pod with a woman.
Right.
Any last thoughts on that clone thing? I thought it was really cool, and I really enjoyed kind of like the horror aspect of this episode. Last episode was kind of like a spy / action episode, and this episode felt very much like a horror themed episode.
Yeah, sort of being in the fun house and that crazy house of mirrors, and especially with the Docules everywhere, the multiple clones. Also, they upped their music budget in this episode because there was music everywhere.
There was a lot of music.
A lot of music. Usually we waited to the end, and this one they were throwing it in, and several times they were throwing some funky 70s music in the town. I mean, they were all about the music this episode, so they definitely upped that music budget. I will definitely say, too, the other thing that I thought was really great was the way they ended the actual episode with both Stahma and Tevgen were grieving in sort of different ways. And I love the way they had Stahma in black. Yeah, which was such a contrast to what we always see of the Cassidans and all that white and so that was a really great. The ink that she was having to get, it was really, really cool. So I love the way they ended that thread with the two of them grieving in their own ways.
Really quickly, let's do some predictions.
Yes.
Scott, what are your predictions?
It's so tough, but I saw the previews, and you had called it with the E-Rep coming back. So maybe we haven't seen the last of Berlin.
Yeah. Maybe
is she going to come back?
Maybe there's some Berlin action happening.
I still feel like there's got to be a final culmination, though, with the OMAC, like something that's got to really spark them, and again, still having them help defend Defiance.
I think Stahma is now going to start becoming like a mate with Tevgen, and because she thinks that Daytak is dead, and then Daytak's going to come back.
I agree with you. I still think Daytak's going to come back, too.
Yeah,
He's not
I think
dead.
Daytak's going to come back. And I think maybe Kenzie unfreezes herself in the ship and starts unfreezing her brothers and sisters at the very end of the season.
That would be interesting.
And, like,
actually have her, and Tevgen has to stop that. His own people. That would be fascinating. Yeah, I definitely think we haven't seen the last of Kinsey.
Awesome.
And I agree with you on Daytak, but I'm fascinated, and I want to know what happened to Samir, too.
Yeah.
Is he dead? What was the needle?
Yeah, what was
that?
I think that's our episode.
Yeah,
Folks, find us on
episode.
YouTube, iTunes, rate us, talk to us. We love talking. Scott, where can they find you on Twitter?
We definitely love talking to everyone. You can find us on Twitter at sman80. That's sman80. Or me, I guess.
And you can find me at JessKlein1. That's JessKlein, the number 1. And you can also see me on the Video Game Vault and the Pizza and Zombies YouTube page.
Yes, and you can also keep the conversation going on Twitter using hashtag ABTVDefiance.
Yep.
Love talking to everybody on there. So thank you again, and thanks again to Billy for calling in.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. See you all next week.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.